let's get it started. This is my blow off target. So you can see here, this was my, let's see, where was first shot? First shot was way over here. I don't know why. Then second shot, oh, I had a bunch of wind in the gun because I'd been doing a previous test. That's what it was. And then, so I came back and shot here and then decided that I was going for a different hold so I could do the rest of the test. And so I had to come over just a little bit more. I was aiming at something right over here. And so this one here, I had to kind of guess because I knew how off, I knew my windage was off, but then, you know, cleaning the gun and stuff like that, it's never exact. So this was my second sighter, and then you can see the rest of my sighters, or, you know, we'll call them fowlers, are right here. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's a third of a minute group, and we're at 300 yards here, so about a 1-inch group. And the interesting thing is that shots 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all the 56.9 charge that I'm going to be testing. And then this one, and this one are the 57.3. So I was covering a half grain variance on this kind of fine powder test that I was doing. And so sometimes in your blow-offs or your sighters, whatever you want to call it, you know, when you're doing some testing, your fowlers, you kind of get an idea of how the testing is going to go for you. And this gave me a lot of confidence that I was probably in for some pretty good results. And again, this is more confirmation testing. I feel pretty good about the load. I've unfortunately, you know, as I've said, my big range, my 1,000-yard range has been closed for various reasons, and it's been really tough to get out there. So all of my testing for nationals is being done at anywhere from 100 to 600 yards. And even my 600, like, I missed 600 yards the other night because I wasn't feeling great. It's not, like, I don't have a lot of confidence going into nationals in terms of, like, time behind this particular load. But the time that I do have, I'm actually feeling pretty good about it because my results have been pretty repeatable. So let's go from our blow off to, let's see. So we're going to go here and we're going to go to test 1. Now, all of these were shot. There are dots on my target out there at 300 yards. And I put about a minute up on the dots so that I'm not blowing the dots off the target. But these are all 5 dots are on the same horizontal. And part of what I'm looking for in this test is as I go up or down on powder charge, am I seeing a difference in elevation or am I getting overlap? So initially, the first thing that I look for, and again, there's a lot of ways to do this. This is what works for me. But I'm looking for overlap. So on the horizontal, everything from the highest charge to the lowest charge is really, you know, sitting in there pretty good. You can see that it's pretty level right over here. I'm just trying to get as many in the picture as I can. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Okay, so you can see if we're looking across kind of the center of the group here, we've got right here, because, you know, we're going to count this one for, you know, for whatever reason, it's still there. But, you know, middle of the group, and then it goes up just a hair, and then I would say that it comes down just a hair and down a little bit and then up. One other thing to keep in mind, I was shooting, so I made a kind of a tactical error shooting tonight, which is I was shooting at a black target, and black target with black crosshair, it doesn't show up real great, and I forgot to put white paper up there to get some contrast at night. It can just be very difficult to see. I do have a lit reticle, and that definitely helps, but, you know, it's one of those things where as good as this might look, I do know that there is a slight flaw in this testing in that I was having trouble getting an exact repeatable hold. I would say on target, I was holding within probably a half inch, you know, honestly, maybe 3/4 inch. What are those red dots for like garage sales? I think they're like a half or 3/4 inch dot. I was within that for a repeatable hold. So there's always gonna be some margin of error there, but it's no different than trying to hold under any other condition. So I take the results for what they are. You can see my 56.9 grain all the way up to 57.3. Again, effectively on the same horizontal here. Group size wise, we've got half minute, 1/5 of a minute, just under half a minute, just over 1/3 of a minute, just under 1/3 of a minute. And, you know, we've got some vertical group, slightly vertical group, a little more horizontal, and then back to vertical. So group size, I like. They felt pretty good. You can see the group is just slightly kind of tumbling, if you will. And, that happens. And, it's sort of just one of those things that you can see. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. I don't know that I necessarily put a ton of stock in, a test this small and in seeing the turnover here, but it is something that if you look at all 5 of these, you can kind of see that it's happening. But overall, my worst shot was half a minute, right? So about an inch and a half group at 1,000 or at 300 yards here. My best was a fifth of a minute, so roughly a half-inch group, little 0.6 of an inch, so just over half an inch group here, and then a quarter minute, just over third of a minute. So roughly 3/4 to a half, or 3/4 to a little over a 1 inch group over on this side, and roughly 1 1/4 inch group here. So, I like watching the MOA because that's to me that it's a quicker and easier way to relate to how the groups are actually shooting and what my goals are. So I felt good about this. Everything felt good. Gun was shooting good. I felt like I had good trigger control. Like I said, if I had to give myself any negative points, it would be on my point of aim. It wasn't fantastic, but as a first test, it was pretty good. And then my gun was obviously pretty hot. We were at 30-something rounds on it. I let it cool off. And in the time that I was cooling off, kind of had some fun since my target was up, but I wasn't doing anything with it. There were a couple really nice ladies that were shooting a hunting gun, getting sighted in, and they were using paper targets at 200 and 300 yards, and they had noticed that I had an electronic target and kind of taken an interest. And so I ran over. There were 3 or 4 benches down. There was nobody else at the line. This is almost 7:45 at this point or something, 7:50. And I said, hey, do you want to shoot on that target and see what it's like? And, they were cool and really nice and said, yeah. And so she was just testing out her hunting gun. She had a couple initial shots that, she was kind of getting used to the gun and stuff. But then, I just thought, this isn't bad. She was shooting just a basic 700, really light pencil barrel, pretty simple scope, low magnification, and shooting at night against a black target. So I thought she did a fantastic job. And, you look here, this is a 1.4 minute. So this is, just over 4-inch group with these last 3 shots that she had here. And, I think she felt really good about being ready for the hunt. And at 300 yards, keeping a group like that, I mean, that's, not much bigger than a heart on a deer. So I'd say she's doing just fine with what she needs to do, especially, again, considering, she was shooting, not off something like the rest that I use. I mean, she was shooting a little bit more in the style of how she would be hunting. So anyway, it's kind of fun. And we talked a little bit and I let my gun cool down for about 10 minutes. So let's head back to the second test. So here we go. This is the second test. Now I did something stupid, and I'll explain here in a minute, but took 5 shots here. Again, pretty repeatable against the last test, just right around the half minute. And then, I mean, look at this. This 57 grains, almost identical, right? And then, oh wait, it's identical because I'm on the same target. Test 2, here we go. So half a minute, almost the same. Opened up just a little bit on this 57, and then everything else kind of tightened up a little bit. The gun was obviously a little more broken in, a little warmer, even though it had cooled a little, still warmer. So, you're looking for repeatability, and then you are looking for consistency. And you can see that the groups kind of track down a little bit. And, I know this goes along with what other people have said. And you kind of just get you get a mental model of how you shoot and what makes sense and what translates on target. And, I guess all I can do is show you like what I do. And if it helps, great. But like for me, I actually like to see either horizontal or slightly downward tracking. And again, this sort of tracks with what some other people have done in terms of looking for loads that are very consistent as the distances grow. And to me, this is really good. So yes, it was getting a little more barrel mirage, even with my Mirage Band. It was hard to see the dot. So I can attribute a little bit, but really that's not what I'm after here. But if you notice here, this one is only 4 shots. And that's because you know, I don't know, I pulled a bonehead move. I mean, look, I'm not perfect. I had a problem. I had a round that wasn't loaded correctly. I wasn't paying attention. And I pulled the bullet, which I can't even remember the last time I did this. But I pulled the bullet and powder everywhere. And, you know, look, if somebody tells you they haven't done that, they're probably lying to you. But, you know, you shoot enough competition and it's bound to happen at some point. I'm just glad it happened while I was practicing. But pulled the bullet. And so it makes a little bit of a mess, and cleaned out my gun and stuff like that. So that gave me the 4 shots. And then this one here, this 15, was my first shot of this 57.2. And I can only say that I somewhat attribute that to the fact that, you know, I don't know 100% that I had all the powder out of the chamber at that point. It was still a little tight. You know, it's just this 15 shot, I ruled it out, and I normally wouldn't, but I ruled it out simply because there were other factors involved. And, you know, I'm just trying to be honest about what's going on there. But the rest of the group, after I took that first shot, then it settled back in, 1/4 minute group, and, you know, a little under 1/2 inch. So what am I seeing here, and, you know, what's left to try or test, or, you know, at what point do I put this to bed and start loading for nationals? Well, it's about a week until I fly out to nationals. I don't really have any more time to test. I'll be shooting at 600 yards on Saturday simply because it's my normal club time that I do. I'll be going out there in the morning. I'll have roughly an hour on my relay to do some testing. So I will take back out most likely something on the lower end, simply because it's going to be a fair amount warmer when we get to Phoenix. And being that there's a pretty decent temperature differential, at this point it's looking like probably around 20 degrees, give or take. I would rather be on the low end of my window here. That gives me some room for heat and so forth to make a difference. And I know that as it goes up, I'm going to feel better about it. So I'll probably go back. I don't love this 56.9. I feel like both tests, while it shot okay, it did not shoot great. And both of them were a little vertical. So I really think that 57 is where I'm going to test on Saturday. I'll shoot a couple targets at 600. I'll shoot them for score. So instead of shooting a single point of aim, what I'm going to want to do is shoot, you know, actually moving around, adjusting for wind, whatever there is, and really try to shoot a score-based target to see how I feel about this load. I'll be able to do it a couple times. And, you know, provided nothing goes crazy for me on Saturday, I can start loading. It's only going to, what do I got? I got maybe 500 something rounds I need to load, 550 rounds that I'll be taking with me. So that's about a day's work. I've got most of the brass prepped. I'll probably spread it out over a couple days just so I can take it easy and not completely push myself or make mistakes. But, you know, overall, I would say, considering this is a pretty new barrel with maybe 250 rounds on it, 260 rounds at this point, by the time I'm done testing on Saturday, I'll be at about 300 rounds. That's a really good number for me to feel great about taking to nationals. I am a little bit unconventional this year in that I'm taking only one gun because I've only got the Borden right now. I've got one Borden, and I've got a pretty much brand new barrel, so I feel really good about the round count lasting. I know the gun's shooting, and that's all I can do. The rest is on me, and if I do well, great. If I don't, you know, that's okay too. You know, try to learn something either way, and Nationals is just an incredible event with so many good people that I look forward to seeing anyway. So I hope this helps in some way, and as always, appreciate the support. Appreciate everybody watching. You have a good one. We'll talk later.